All right, Coach. The season is fast approaching, a week from Saturday. Can you kind of update us on where you guys are and as far as game prep? Are you kind of getting closer to that game week mode? Are you kind of wrapping up the camp portion? Kind of where do things stand right now?
Yeah, we kind of wrapped up the camp side of things last Saturday, had a scrimmage, and really got on Georgia Tech at the beginning of the week as coaches. From a player side, Tuesday, we had more of a practice on us, cleaning things up from the scrimmage, cleaning things up that maybe we didn't necessarily get to in camp from a situational perspective. And then on Wednesday, today, we got rolling on Georgia Tech. Unique situation because they have a game before us. So I'm going to get through the rest of the week, trying to get a little bit of a head start on those guys and try to replicate what a normal game week would look like for our kids with so many newcomers, just guys adjusting to that, and then moving forward full speed on Georgia Tech this weekend.
Coach, how much of an advantage is it that Georgia Tech plays the game this weekend, but you guys don't? Is that an advantage in terms of preparation, or would you have liked to play as well?
Yeah, I think you can look at it both ways. We're spinning as an advantage, obviously, to our players, and I think for us as coaches, kind of gives you a little bit more time to prepare. Obviously, you'd always like to get a game or two from a personnel perspective, from a scheme perspective, but obviously, getting a week healthier, getting a week more prep on us, you feel like you have an advantage there. I think that their coaching staff has been together for a long time and had no turnover on defense for them. Those guys will be on the same page and be ready to roll when we play them. I think, like I said, I think you can look at it both ways. For us, an extra week of preparation. For them, having the week where, the old adage of you make the biggest jump between week 1 and 2, I think for them is going to be they're going to feel like it's an advantage. So I think both ways, you can look at it either way. We're going to be ready to play next Saturday, and I got to believe so will they.
Morning, Coach. All right, so since this is your first season as a co-offensive coordinator, sorry, I'm tripping over words. What's the change been like to get bracing into this new role, and what's your dynamic been with Coach Tucker as you both have offensive coordinator roles?
Yeah, it's been a really, really good learning experience coming in, and obviously what's been going on here is not broken. So coming in and adjusting to a new system, new personnel, all those things have been fascinating for me. It's been a really, really cool learning experience. I think not having but 4 days of spring was interesting because that was kind of the time where you felt like you could get under it and really get ahead of the ball a little bit. But it has been fascinating. Obviously having responsibility from a practice standpoint, from an offensive scheme standpoint, has been fascinating. Coming in and really getting an outside view, I think Coach Hype and I talked about this throughout the hiring process, was, man, we need an outside perspective. We need an outside picture on this. And as good as things have gone, there's obviously always room for improvement. And I credit Coach Hype in his humility in saying, hey, we're not very good at this part. Why don't you dive deep into it and see if we can fix it? And so it's been a mix of adjustment. It's been a mix of trying to bring your own flavor to it a little bit and trying to make it better. And that's been a challenge to me and to us as an offensive staff, is to continue to try and find ways to improve. Coach Tuck has been awesome in terms of he's been here for 2 years. He's made a similar transition from where he came to coming here in terms of being somewhat different offensively in his background as well. So we share a lot of very similar ideas in that regard. His humility, his lack of ego, I feel like has been awesome for me to work with. I feel like it's forced me to be that same way in a lot of ways. I think we bounce a ton of ideas off of each other. I think we kind of attack it from a different way. We see it from a different way a little bit, but we come together and really toss around a lot of really neat things. And I think the biggest thing about Coach Tuck that's been awesome to me is he's an incredible teacher, and he has forced me to think outside the box in a lot of things. And I think Coach Hype enjoys having kind of two different perspectives, yet two guys that have a really similar approach to teaching young men. It's been a fascinating ride in that regard. Just having somebody you can bounce things off of, and I'd like to think in the same regard for me as to him, being able to bounce things off each other, being able to take some things off of each other, in terms of where we're looking, what we're seeing. And I think on game day, it'll be uniquely different too with what our responsibilities will be.
Coach, last week, Coach Heupel talked about Tony Forrest Jr. and how he really liked the physicality he plays with and the speed he plays with on the line of scrimmage. Can you talk about Tony and what you've seen from him so far, and what he needs to continue to improve upon to maybe have a role this season?
Sure. Tony is a physical young man. He does bring a level of physicality to the position. He's also a freshman, and now he benefited from enrolling early. There's a lot that goes into it, I think, at that position. You got to know the pass game. You got to know the run game. You got to know the pass protection side of it. I think for him, the only thing that would hold him back from helping us this year would be himself, in terms of from an ability to learn and adjust. I think there's so much that goes into being a college football player at this level. You kind of you go through camp and everything is good. Then you throw in school on top of it, and you throw in going from a camp week to a 20-hour week. And I think for Tony, it's the mental side of seeing it, reacting, and playing. From a physical standpoint, Tony's got a lot of tools. Tony, like we said, is a physical young man, can catch, can block, can add a lot to this offense. He's got to continue to progress and get used to the speed of the game. I think the way we play on offense, and it's no secret how fast we go and how fast we play, you got to be able to adjust and see things quickly. It's helped him because he is intelligent. It's just putting it all together. So I've been careful about how much to throw on Tony. We've tried to bring him along. I think there is a part at our position that it's okay to be a freshman. It's okay to take the extra weight room time, to take the extra time to learn. I think it's okay sometimes to be on the scout team and have that role as part of your building process. But I've been proud of Tony. I hope as we keep going here, he can find a role. He certainly physically is ready. And I think in the next several weeks, as he sees it and experiences it where everything isn't a first time for him, I think he'll certainly be able to help us, hopefully on special teams first.
Hey, Coach. All right, so we're a little over a week heading into the season opener for us, and the Georgia Tech has had a bit of a rough season last season, going 3-9. They gave away about 32 points to the opposing teams last year. With that being said, what issues and what problems do you see in probably film that you're watching of Tech from last season? Do they give the offense for you guys this year in this matchup?
Sure. I think and I mentioned it earlier, the unique thing about that staff going into year 2 is for the staff, this is year 4 in terms of Temple to Georgia Tech. Those guys have been together. They've worked together. And I think that always gives you a chance in terms of having continuity. They've got just about everybody back. The one thing a Jeff Collins defense has always had, and this is going back years to the 2010 Little Caesars Bowl, even preparing for him at that point when he was at FIU, the one thing that's been consistent throughout the years is their guys play hard. I think for maybe the struggles that they had as a team, where every year one program does, and the drastic overhaul that they've had to make on offense, I think the one thing that gave them a chance in every game, go down to week 12 against Georgia, has been the fact that they will play hard. Schematically, I think he's always had his unique staples to a defense. Again, playing hard, very, very sound in what they do. There are not holes in that defense. And I think they know that. I think anytime you've been together as a staff for a long time and your kids are willing to play hard, you're going to be incredibly sound. And I think you talk about challenges, that's it. Can we play harder than them for longer? And can we find holes where holes maybe don't necessarily exist? And I think as you see guys, you see the true staple of that team a year ago played a bunch of guys and played really hard. I want to say they played something like 11 D linemen throughout the year. That's a lot of guys. They played 7-8 guys at linebacker. That's a lot of guys. In their secondary, there's 2 all-conference guys in there, and really that entire secondary being back, that was the strong part of their team. And so you watch back to them at Temple, you watch back to what they were able to do a year ago, played really hard, got better every week, competed in games at the end. I've been there. I've been a part of that year one deal for this, I guess 3 times. And if you can get that, year 2 is generally a lot better. That's going to be a good football team on defense. To be honest with you, I've not watched them offensively, but on defense, they will give you issues if you let them line up and play as hard as they do.
Alex, we've seen some of the teams so far that have played. They've had some issues maybe with tackling. We saw that with Navy the other night. Maybe they limited themselves in practice. How have you guys handled that, when it comes to full-on contact with everything going on with COVID, when it comes to tackling, and how important is it for you guys?
Yeah, Matt, I think you watch the last 2 weeks and it makes you realize, man, oh man, like, I don't know that it makes you nervous, but it makes you realize that these are things you better be hitting with your kids, from special teams play to tackling to honestly being in good enough shape to go through 4 quarters of football the way you're supposed to. I think they've been awesome lessons for us. We talked about advantages to waiting another week. It's given us another week to prepare physically in terms of an extra week of blocking people, tackling people, conditioning to actually be able to accomplish those things. We've had 2 scrimmages where we've gone out and played football as you're supposed to play football. We've got an incredible team of trainers and doctors that have given us parameters to limiting obviously exposures and all those things. And Coach Hype's done an incredible job of managing that part of it. But when it's been time to go play football, we've been able to go play football. We've had 2 awesome Saturdays of putting the ball down and playing ball, tackling, blocking, all those things. I think as you watch the games the last 2 weeks, it's really been about detail and fundamentals, like you said, blocking, tackling, taking care of the football, timing in the pass game, all the little things that add up to wins and losses you see show up at times. And you had a normal cycle. I think you eliminate a lot of the mistakes, the pre-snap penalties, the 12 men on the field, the play clock on first down, just little things that you feel like you should have worked through that maybe you didn't get a chance to do. I think for us not having played 2 weeks ago, having this extra week and a half, I think can only help us. And our guys, and we've put up all the clips that you're probably thinking of in the back of your mind, our kids have seen them. And I think it's a wake-up call, and you hope that wake-up call is taken care of through the classroom rather than having to learn it the hard way on the field on the 19th. But, man, oh, man, it's been awesome to sit back and I didn't watch that Navy BYU game. Just saw some clips of some things for us that we need to make sure we're hammering home. But I think this extra time has allowed us to cover those details. And we've been harping on it. We have been absolutely harping on it. And, from a tackling perspective, I think one thing Coach Shannon, I'm sure, has practiced and drilled. And like I said, the 2 scrimmages is the tackling part. Our guys will come out and tackle. We'll be all right.
With it being such a different preseason, I know there was uncertainty early on just in regards to the season itself and then asking players to be responsible and limit contacts. Now that the season really is in sight, guys are seeing football on TV. Are you seeing a difference from the players, like in practice, maybe as you started the GT week? I mean, is there a little bit more pep in their step, some excitement that everything they've been working for is really going to happen for real?
Yeah, Brad, you're dead on. Yes, the answer is yes. I think even us as coaches, to be honest with you, a little bit, there's the light at the end of the tunnel is you can actually see it now. I think the uncertainty early for the players, for us as coaches, was very much maybe a hope is the right word early, and a little bit of a blind faith that, hey, we are going to get to this point. And we talked about it last week, but continue to hammer home the process for them of just continuing to get better every day. Whether there was going to be a game on the 5th, on the 12th, on the 19th, whatever that game was going to happen, that we had to be ready. And I think the one thing that these young guys do a really good job of is you give them a target and they'll go attack it, and I think once it was kind of defined that, hey, we are playing, hey, it is going to be the 19th, I think it kind of gave them a rejuvenated level of energy of, hey, there's a purpose to this whole thing. These guys obviously want to play ball and are incredibly fired up to play ball. Now that there's somebody else that they get to hit rather than their own teammates, I think they're even more excited. But the answer to your question is very much so. I think the light at the end of the tunnel is a week away. And honestly, I think just like for everybody else in our country, seeing ball played 2 weeks ago was huge. And then seeing teams in our conference with Memphis kicking it off last week and SMU kicking it off last week, seeing guys, peers of theirs in our conference be able to attack and play, I think has been huge. But I think this week has been even a different kind of rejuvenated energy. It's like you get to flip on the film and got to see somebody else on film and get to see a game plan put in on film and absolutely a different kind of energy, a different kind of level of excitement just to be able to get ready for a game. I think the older guys being able to get back into a routine of what a Sunday through Saturday looks like, and getting back in a mode of perfecting their process throughout the week in order to be able to play on Saturday has been really, really exciting.
Appreciate
Thanks a lot,
it. Thank you,
Coach.
Coach.
Thank you.
Thanks. Good job.